Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand with Surgeon General of Florida, Dr. Joseph Ladapo. You are going to love this conversation because it's going to arm you with sweet, sweet freedom and help you understand what a good public official looks like versus a bad one. Let me know in the chat who you think a bad one is. We want you with us as much as possible and as quickly as possible. To facilitate that, download the Rumble app, click the red button, become an awakened wonder. You get additional videos every single week on subjects like chemtrails. You could have joined us for this conversation with Dr. Ladapo, and plus you will be part of a powerful movement. Now, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, author of Transcend Fear, was and is the Surgeon General of Florida. His book, Transcend Fear, describes his views on public health restrictions, early home treatment, and COVID-19 vaccines, along with how Florida officials made public health decisions that set Florida apart from other states. But did they go far enough? And was it successful? We spoke about a variety of subjects, and you are going to love hearing about them. You would have seen it a week earlier if you were an awakened wonder on Locals. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to be here with us for about 15 minutes, and you got to suck up on them words as if it were the sweet titty milk of a wolf and you were Romulus or maybe Remus. As you know, only one twin can survive. Now, get ready for the conversation with Dr. Ladapo, who shows you what a public official should look like. Honest, authentic, open-minded, exciting and illuminating. Remember, YouTube will only be with you for a minute. Why? Because we live in the sweet stream of freedom. So you'll have to click the link eventually. Here's the conversation. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ladapo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Russell.
It's lovely to meet you directly, if not in person, because during the pandemic period, I remember feeling, as I'm sure many people did, that yours was a sane and trustworthy voice during a period where people were losing a great deal of faith in public officials. We spend a lot of time on this channel talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci as the epitome of this phenomena, someone that was heralded and held up as the face of the reliable bureaucracies of America, but over time has come to be seen as a figure of, and again, I'll be careful here because we're still, for the first 15 minutes, streaming on multiple platforms, including YouTube, where we face considerable censorship, has come to be seen as someone whose involvement historically in complex research, the way that he's received royalties, a potential direct involvement in the Wuhan Institute of Virology and their projects, have all meant that the trust in him as an individual and public health more broadly has waned significantly. You've written a new book, Transcend Fear, a blueprint for mindful leadership in public health. Would it be fair to say that that you might be a new epitome for public health in America, and that Dr. Anthony Fauci has taught us many lessons? If that analysis is true, could you tell us what the lessons we could learn from the figure of Anthony Fauci?
Jeez. Yeah, where do you start, Russell? I agree with everything you said. I mean, maybe lesson number one is to really examine the deliverer of your information. I think a lot of people early on just completely were snowed by Dr. Fauci, but there were a few voices that could see him for who he is. And who he is a dishonest, self-serving political animal who happens to have scientific training. And we saw him, he misled people in so many ways. I mean, the whole mask thing was just epic. He was sitting in that 60 Minutes interview saying, no one really needs to wear one, which actually was consistent with the science because the science hasn't been supportive. And then he flipped the script and we were up to maybe 2 or 3 masks, I think, by the time the pandemic was actually starting to cool down. So, you got to look at the sources of information and really feel whether they resonate with you in terms of your connection with what feels true. And he clearly, I don't have anything against him actually, but you can look at him. He's obviously a very dishonest, untrustworthy person.
What you said there about trusting your own instincts and intuition when it comes to personally appraising public information, that in itself has become quite controversial in your country. It seems that we are more and more inclined towards, certainly in terms of legislation, legitimizing the state as a kind of uber parent to us all, determining which information we should even have access to. There seems to be some fear and loathing of ordinary Americans. Beyond the fear and loathing, I might offer a kind of contempt, a sense that we, and I mean the people of the world here, because I'm plainly not American, are not capable of ourselves looking at some data on, for example, vitamin D or other proposed measures. And of course, we're going to get into discussing the vaccine later, and making a choice for our family. There was an appetite for authoritarianism. There was an appetite for mandate. Sometimes mandate was executed, blessedly, not as much as I get the sense the state would have liked to have mandated it. So this idea that we are actually, as individuals, as communities, and as families, able to, for ourselves, as sovereign, determine what our medical and indeed cultural choices are to be, seems to be something that's under threat. Does that seem like a fair assessment to you, Doctor? Now, before Dr. Ladapo answers that question, I've got to let you know on YouTube, as you can see, the countdown's already begun. We can't answer you there. We can tell you, yes, that there are glorious artifacts. We can tell you that if you become an awakened wonder, you get access to incredible content. We can tell you that you could be part of a movement that is about opposing establishment power and corruption and about free speech. Join us if you're interested in that. Now, Dr. Ladapo, answer the question. Click the link in the description if you're watching us on YouTube.